This video is about technical analysis, or TA. It's the art of using market data to identify trends and make predictions. I'll have my good friend Hardabs with me today. He has been crushing it with his trades this year. Discussing the market trends with him has helped me tremendously to time my buys and sells well and make them with confidence. He will share his screen with us and he'll tell us how he approaches TA, what market trends he's looking at. At the end of this call, you will have a solid foundation to start making quantitative decisions on your crypto buys and sells. We're also going to leave you with a couple of hints on what are some good buys right now.
It's nice to have you, buddy.
Hey, man, thanks. It's good to be here.
It's good to be here on the podcast. So I'm going to refer to you as Mr. Hardabs for the duration of this call.
Awesome. Yeah, that's usually my my go-to outside of my real name, Mike. But yeah, you can call me Hardabs, Mr. Hardabs, Abs, whatever.
Or it's millionaire, whatever.
Not yet, but I'm trying to be.
All right. Well, Mr. Hardabs is our local TA advisor who has made some great calls in the past. He's helped me save some money on some bad decisions that I was about to make. And it took me a really long time to warm up to TA and start listening. But I think the moment where it really clicked for me was when you pulled all your money out of Bitcoin in May 2021, right? And it was right before the giant crash. And then you just bought right back in and you essentially doubled your stacks. That was fucking awesome. I don't know how you did that. And if you want to walk me through that in more detail, I would love to hear about it, because I don't remember what you saw on the charts, what you were saying, because I obviously didn't listen. I just kept my money in. And then I was in horrible pain for the next several weeks while I saw ETH go from 4,400 to like 1,800.
Yeah, I mean, I did give that warning to folks that, here's what I'm doing. And this is based on the charts that I was looking at. But there's several different things that I kind of look at when it comes to TA, when it comes to basically the market trends. I generally gravitated towards making trend lines, horizontal, vertical, and then using oscillators that are really key to TA, right? So if you're new to TA, you need to use all of these oscillators to basically find your conviction. You're acting as essentially like a lawyer, being like, hey, this is why I'm bullish on this. This is why I'm bearish on the trends here. Based on these facts in the charts, this is what I'm doing. And this is what I see. And around May, I had my first kid, and I was super busy, but I was just like, as soon as I got back, I'm like, well, the charts it doesn't look that bullish anymore. So I basically sold, a stack of a Bitcoin, and I'm just sitting there for a little bit on the sidelines. Until the market was clearing.
I'm going to sit on the sidelines now. I'm going to sit on the sidelines. And I was like, wow, you sit on the sidelines. We're in the middle of the biggest bull market ever. And obviously you were right.
No, yeah, thanks, man. I was just, I remember you were trolling me about TA and how it's like called tea leaves, and that there's an upside down turtle formation.
Formation.
Let me share my screen really quick just to show you what I see.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And I think it'd be helpful to kind of have everyone to follow along. So this is the daily chart. Generally, I don't like to use anything less than the 4-hour chart. And or the daily, right? But if you're using anything less than that, like the hourly chart, which I see a lot of folks do, or the 2-hour or the 30 and 15 minute, no, that's day trading right there. I'm more of like a momentum trader. So if I'm holding something for about a month or two, that's probably where I'm comfortable at most. So let's go to the daily. Let's zoom out really quick and just kind of take a look at what I was seeing. So right here was where we were seeing, in May, right? Where Bitcoin just had that euphoric stage where it was at 65K, top. And it literally just fell from there down to 50, high 40s. And, I was looking at the oscillators here.
So what are oscillators? You have to talk to me like I'm 5.
Sure. Yeah. So I you have to use what's best for you when you get into TA. And I found that this is just really the best thing for me. So I use the stock RSI. It's basically showing, in layman terms, if I wanted to do this real quick, basically the blue line crossing over the orange line. That's where you want to start buying. But here are the levels from 0 all the way up to the 100, right? Down here is basically where you are oversold. We're due for a bounce. There's a huge drop in the price of Bitcoin, whatever asset you're looking at. And so you want to basically purchase and start buying when this blue line kind of like curls back up and then gets above this this bullish 20, right?
20, okay.
How I'm looking at this is that when you go past the 20/25 area, kind of making sure that it clears this level, that's where you kind of want to be placing your bets, essentially, right? So when I was looking at this, Bitcoin just hit above, it's 64, 65, and then it had this like this massive drop. So I was looking at it two ways, right? Like here, I was kind of looking at this little channel like that, and it broke out of the channel, right? So once it broke out, I didn't, that's a bearish signal, because what you want is something that breaks above this resistance line up here. But you have to always assume that it's going to kind of continuous, go into this little trend until it doesn't, right? So here is where it breaks, and this was a little concerning, because then you're now creating a lower high right here. So here and here are the lower highs. And that just basically shows like, okay, well, here is where people should start selling.
And that's, I think, when you were very confidently saying that things are really looking bad. Things are really looking bad. Meanwhile, I was looking at the prices and I was seeing recovery. Like, oh, we're going right back up to 65 and beyond. That's where you saved yourself a lot of money and a lot of heartache.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where I was just, I put my money where my mouth is, and I'm like, you know what, I could be losing some money, because what if it breaks through there? Bitcoin does what it wants to do. But, whatever it says in the charts for me is that, if it's confirmed, it shows this high, this next candle right here, if I sold between 50 to 55, all right, this is where you basically want to sell. And this is the region where I sold. But yeah, I mean, it went all the way down here, and it was actually showing
it went below 30, right? Or it hit 30.
It went below 30 just really briefly, and it just started creating this little downward channel here, which, looking back, that is kind of bullish, because it needs to break above, and then what I was looking as well is like, I love looking at the VWAP. VWAP means,
what is VWAP?
Yeah, it means the volume weighted average price. And so you can basically see, and I'm going to blow this up. You can basically see. So let's look at right here. Let's look at this little area right here. This below price.
The channel where it was moving down, right?
Right here. Let's take a look. See this money flow? The money flow was out, right? Everyone was selling right here. So literally it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then what do you notice here when it goes back down? So you're seeing that money's flowing back in. And that's bullish, right? So you're looking at money flowing back in, but then it kept on going down, right? But people are accumulating in this area, which is, most people don't see, right? And this is one of those things where it's really beneficial to have this.
Okay, but so what does that mean, money flowing out? I mean, if money flowing out, price is going down. How could price be going up if money's flowing out, or vice versa?
Well, I mean, I was seeing like this, right? If you kind of look at where this 65,000,
because it's cumulative, right? That's
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So right here, if we wanted to kind of blow this up again, this is where 65,000 was happening right here. But what do you notice? You notice that right here, the money's flowing out. Like that's people are taking lots of profits on the way down here.
Right.
And that's really concerning. So now folks are trying to catch where we should rebuy back in. And this is once I found that this was kind of getting back into flowing back in, the money is, people are slowly accumulating, and you're slowly passing this.
Yeah, and that's end of July, right? And coming into beginning of August, when we basically saw like the second mini cycle start.
Correct. When it comes to TA as well, when you break a channel, sometimes, and actually most of the time, you come back to test. So let's take a look at this really quick. You come back to retest the previous resistance. So you see this little channel that we just talked about, where this downtrend, right, was happening. Ultimately, this is where you want to be purchasing it. So, because I did see a nice little green momentum wave right here, which is really nice. It broke right back up above this. This was the most right here. This was the most bullish thing that that we've seen in a while since beginning of May, end of April. The idea here is that you want, and I kind of want to make this big so you can see, this was where it broke, right? And it usually comes back to back test it right here.
Right.
That's where you
Even
back
I know that.
Correct. Yeah. So what you want to do is obviously when it breaks, you're like, okay, I don't want to buy on this little area up here. A lot of folks have this wrong where they purchase up here because it broke, right? Wait, be patient, come back here. This is the area where you kind of want to ladder in. You want to come back for the back test. And this is what essentially what it did. Came back to back test and then off to the races. That's really what happened with May, around that area where I sold. When I saw this higher low confirmation, and I was like, okay, this is where I need to sell and get out. And I was sitting on the sidelines for a while. It needs to find its bearings and create its own little trend, right? And then I was looking at the oscillators at the same exact time, and I basically wanted to strike as soon as possible. And then down here as well with the stock RSI, it's basically the relative strength index.
Yeah.
Show you this. This is where it started to curl back up. So what did I say earlier? You kind of wanted to see where this was going, right? You wanted to basically have the blue line, right? Because one thing too is that the money was flowing out, and it's really essential to see. Okay, this was also showing lower highs as well. So here.
Right, it's the oscillator. That's the stock RSI, right?
Correct. Yeah, and this is what I like to use when it comes to momentum trading. And so right here was pretty key. I wanted to make sure because this right here was proven to me. The VWAP was coming up, money was flowing back in. This blue line, I was keeping my eye on this. I was like, okay, if it's as soon as it crosses this orange line, this is a confirmation buy. And what do you notice? This was actually the optimal time to purchase Bitcoin and or your alts, your favorite alts.
Dope. So, I mean, it's easy to go and do this in retrospect, but let's talk about what do you see now? What are we going from where we are now? What is the latest? How do we predict the future today?
Good question. That's a $1 million question right there. In TA, there's a lot of ideas out there, right? And the way you get into TA is that you want to trust what you understand the best. What I'm seeing here is that, we have to go level by level. And so kind of a macro level, let's go on the weekly really quick. This is better to see. Now, right here is where you can see like a bottom supply line right here, right?
Yeah.
Making sure that the support line's right here. It's and then there's another support line up here, and then another resistance line up here, right? We have to assume that this is where Bitcoin's going to be. If you look at these this big trend here, this macro trend, this is typically where you kind of want to purchase right here. Like that's something. This is an area where you could potentially reverse to go back up, right? Because we have to assume that the trend always follows within a pattern until it doesn't.
Right. So we're drawing the channel, we're narrowing down the channel until it breaks out. Right. That's the idea.
Correct. Going back to the same idea with support and trend lines, when something basically is in a little channel, this is it looks like an ascending triangle to me, and it broke out right here. See that? What does it typically do? Come back to back test. Is that right?
Right.
So literally, this is what I've been seeing. It went back up and it back tested. That's what I'm seeing right here. This is where people should be laddering in. This is where it's pretty much safe unless it breaks down, right? This is not what you want. So
you're right on the cusp. Like essentially either we're going to go down a little bit lower and then it's probably bad. But if we start seeing prices continuously move up, I mean, this is a daily candle we're looking at, right?
No, this is a weekly.
This is a weekly. Okay, so this is a really zoomed out type of deal. So if we could make like another green candle right now, that would make you think we're really bullish. Am I understanding this correctly?
That's correct. Yeah. If you can see this yellow line right here, this support line, which was resistance, it's coming back to back test right here. And do you see this long little this long wick right here? A lot of
long red one.
Yeah, the long red wick right here. The long red wick basically means that a lot of buyers came in to purchase this cheap Bitcoin. Starting at what was it? It fell to like the 42,000. Depending on which exchanges you're looking at, some exchanges are showing that Bitcoin went down to 40K. But in this case, I'm looking at this this chart here from Bitstamp. It has the most history. That's why I use it. But yeah, it came back to backtest. This is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that this is backtesting right now. We are in a safe area to make a purchase. This is a low risk area, in my opinion. Also, not financial advice. But,
of course, of course, nothing here isn't financial advice.
Right. So yeah, basically, this is what I'm seeing here. This is literally backtesting, and I believe, and I'm actually going to confirm this as well with other oscillators. So it looks like the stock RSI on the weekly too. This is coming back up. It's kind of fallen in the oversold area.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's down here right now. But what if this coming week it has a nice bullish? It's a bullish. It's above 52,000, and it starts curling back up. That's another thing I'm going to take a look at. Another thing here is that there's nothing here on the VWAP where the money's flowing. It's still flowing here. It's not really falling. What I'm seeing, still healthy chunk. But see this right here from last week to this week. The weekly.
Wait, from the weekly, okay.
Yeah. So see this little
little wedge. Yeah.
Yeah. It's basically it's now higher than the previous week. So this weekly, what if it's curling back up? Like that's one of those things where, what if, right? So I'm gonna keep my eye on this one. Kind of zooming in on the daily. I am seeing a buy on the daily right now. The daily is showing that it's above the 20 on the stock RSI. It's also showing a buy on the daily as well.
So we just broke out of that little bear season that we had.
Correct. So this is what I'm saying. Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's showing a nice strong little buy here, and it actually was showing. It might have been a bear trap, honestly, and it's showing that the money flow is going out. But then what happens? What happens here? It just popped right back in. The bulls stepped back in, and they purchased it right up from 42,000.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there was a bunch of bearish news in the last week or so, the Evergrande thing, and so that probably kind of caused some of that movement. And now that price is just basically going right back up, ETH is about 4,400 already. Mm-hmm. The narrative makes sense. People are going to start feeling a lot more confident. Like, oh, even like the worst of news only brought us down to 4K, and we just bounced right back up. One
of the charts I really wanted to show you was the ETH to BTC chart.
Well, that's my favorite chart. I look at that all the time. Oh my goodness, look at that.
Very, very bullish.
Yeah, I mean, let's forget about anything below 2018 because that's nutty. What happened there?
What I'm showing you here is it's a nice little cup, your textbook cup and handle right here, and it broke out of this handle, as you can see. And what did it do? It came back to backtest.
Backtested and bounced right up. That's what I like to see.
This is where the movement is, and typically you want to take the measured move from the top of the cup, and then basically that'll show you a nice little area where potentially you could be taking profits. And let's take that measured move really quick.
So many other things got absolutely destroyed in the last 2 weeks, and ETH just chilling, just right back up to 4,400.
Yeah. So you're looking at this ETH BTC, and a lot of folks that are on the sidelines right now or in alts are looking at this chart. Basically, hopefully it'll break out, which it did, and we're basically going to be seeing some nice alt season action. This is all just basically all on ETH BTC right here. Another thing I want to take a look at as well. So this is a really bullish chart, ETH to BTC. Another thing I want to take a look at too is Bitcoin dominance. And apologies for all of these lines, but we wanted to take a look at this bottom support line because really I'm in a lot of alts right now. I want this to break, right? I want this to break to the downside. And this is BTC dominance. So you
want Bitcoin to go lower relative to alts.
Yeah, correct. Or trade sideways. And a lot of folks are willing to speculate in the space, get rid of their blue chips, Bitcoin, and then they want to, experiment in some, other alts. Ethereum obviously being one of them, Luna, Solana, AVAX. what have you. So this is one of the charts that I'm taking a look at, weekly and daily. So it's looking like probably Bitcoin's dominance is going to bounce up. So a lot of attention, for what I'm seeing, a lot of attention is going to be placed on Bitcoin to do its thing. It's probably going to come back up again. Just taking a look at the price, it makes sense, right? You want basically, you don't want Bitcoin to die, because that's essentially
Right, that's not good for anybody.
exactly. So this makes sense. This narrative makes sense. It comes back to back test here, and hopefully we're off to the races right here. So a lot of folks are going to be in. But the thing that you want to see happen is that you want Bitcoin to make a higher high. So you want this
we
to
would all like
keep
that.
going,
Yeah.
right? And you want it to basically make a brand new channel. So you want it to do this, like a rising channel, right? Something like this, kind of like that, right? So you kind of want it to Bitcoin to make a brand new uptrend, and that's the name of the game. So Bitcoin really makes sense right here, where if you want to rotate something, you want to buy Bitcoin right now and ride it up a little bit, because the dominance is looking pretty strong, and it's a buy on the stock RSI here. It's well above 20. It's sitting at the blue line, sitting above 37.3, and it's out of the oversold territory. So that's a really good sign for all of us that's in the market right now.
So it almost sounds like maybe rotating from ETH to Bitcoin for a little bit might be a good way to ride this up.
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, so it's probably going to be the Bitcoin show for the next week or two, maybe even 3, because this is the weekly chart. So that's really where I'm seeing things are. I mean, this is what we want to see. We want to make sure that the rotation comes from Bitcoin, then it flows into Ether, and then it essentially flows into the top 20, and then it just kind of disperses from there.
That's awesome. So it's good news. We got to keep an eye on that weekly wick, right, for Bitcoin.
Yep.
If it breaks that bottom kind of channel, then we might not be looking so hot. And I don't mean on the chart that you're looking at now. I mean where it's retesting the channel that it broke out. And if it goes back into that channel, then that might not be super good. But if we see another green wick this week, we're probably in the clear to make that annual end of December before Christmas bull run. That maybe, something that looks like 2017, that would be nice.
Yeah. So if this is true, Bitcoin could see major gains going into Q1 and potentially Q2. Who knows? Depending on the chart and what it shows for me. So that more to come on that.
And what is this that you're on a website? Are you tradingview.com?
TradingView, correct? Yeah.
And I'm assuming you have some kind of a paid version, or are you still using the free?
I'm still using the free because I think it works. It's been working for me.
Holy shit!
I don't like subscription services, so that's where I'm at.
I just canceled like 4 of them today because I haven't used them in like 2 months. So
exactly.
So let's talk about these indicators that you bring up, because we don't have to get into crazy detail on them, but just like, what is RSI, for example, right? It's relative strength index. What does that really mean, and why is that important in TA?
So from my understanding, it's really just showing the strength and where the chart and the asset is. So the stock RSI and the RSI are both different. Here's the regular RSI. Obviously, you can also chart this as well with trend lines. I know many people do.
But just big picture, like RSI towards closer to 100 is good. RSI closer to 0 is like bad, right?
So RSI closer to 0 is considered oversold, right? So anything that you want to purchase, there's also strategies out there that if you want to purchase something that's way deep into the 0 to the 20, essentially, things are bound to come back up again.
You would say RSI is one of the most important indicators you look at, or is there something else that
I definitely take a look at that, because you don't want to catch a falling knife, right? But you want to make sure that it's something that if it's in an area where it's a low risk area, it retraced, a nice decent amount. You can also use the Fibonacci extensions if you want to, and the retracement tools. That's something I use as well for optimal buying opportunities, and I can weigh that in as well, and I can show you how that works. So there's a Fibonacci tool that you can use. So you basically want to use it from the impulse, and kind of go back up here. And when I say that there's going to be a potential drop, right, and here is this little ascending wedge. Do you see this ascending wedge? It dropped below, and it kept going. So once you see that there's a drop below, you're like, okay, well, how do I make a purchase with this? How do I make of Bitcoin when it created a lower high and now it's on the way down? Typically, when it comes to trading, you can basically kind of take a look at this little area right here. It goes to different levels, right? The 236, this is the first level. Typically, if it's super bullish, it bounces off this 236 area and it comes back up. But most of the time, it comes back to the 382, kind of like the 0.5, and then down here to the 0.618. A lot of folks out there, they live and swear by the 618 and the 0.786 area, because in here, this is where you're going to hear this term when it comes to trading, the golden pocket area. And so typically this is the area where the 618 either bounces off. A lot of folks would like to start buying in at the 0.5 right here, about this area. And, you want to buy like 20% or 50% of your stack, or, whatever it is, whatever your strategy is. But mostly you wanted to buy at this area right here where the 618 is, which is around 51K, which is a better buying opportunity than it is when you buy, I think Bitcoin is going to be a buy at 58,000. It dropped a decent amount from 68,000. You can use this tool, the Fibonacci retracement, and basically you want to take a look at this little pocket right here, the 0.618 to the 0.786. This is the area where it's really a low risk buy area where people and a lot of buyers step in. And
so we got the golden pocket, and that's basically buying before everybody else starts buying. And this is all this Fibonacci. What do you call it? Fibonacci
retracement.
Retracement. That's based on RSI, right? Mm-hmm. Still, or is it like a bunch of different? No.
It's completely independent from each other.
Oh, okay.
This is just a tool that you can utilize for basically buying something that's retracing. You can use the Fibonacci extension tool to see how high things are going to go once they break out. So it's really it's one of those tools that's really powerful. So how do I determine something that when I'm looking at a chart like this, how do I see if there's a level, or if I'm a trader, right? I use and pull out the Fibonacci retracement and try to just use it right here. Just kind of go from left to right. This tool is just showing potential areas where they, where you can be taking profits, certain key areas. And so here, the 1.618, this is a big area right here where a lot of folks would take we see a lot of congestion around this area. Once this broke out down here on this wedge, you can see that literally the 618 right here, there's a little congestion, but it was still bullish because it broke out of this pattern. So people were expecting a little bit more, and then they're eyeing up this previous 65K area here. So if it breaks this, okay, off to the races. But Bitcoin just decides what it wants to do. What I'm seeing here is that this was the area, $61,168. This was the area where a lot of folks were kind of undecided, where they were taking tons of profits. People were trading back and forth with each other. The market was trying to decide whether it wants to keep going up, make a new all-time high, which it did. And so this is.
But generally, the smart folks took profit, is what it looks like, right?
Yeah, exactly. They took profits, but this is one of those things where. Literally, again, remember how I was telling you back in May 2021, earlier this year, I took profits because I saw a lower high. This was a lower high right here. This was a lower high. See this?
Yeah.
So it broke down. I'm like, well, I was a little concerning about this, but I still held on to my positions.
But so this is a little bit different for ETH, because ETH made the new highs by, almost 10, like 8%, I think, around this time. So would you say that would be different? Like.
Well, maybe people took profits from Bitcoin and they went over to Ether. This is what probably started to do, because that's typically the rotations. They ride Bitcoin, and then because Bitcoin's the king of crypto there, and then you then take profits on this, and then you move on to the next one, which is number 2, ETH.
And so that's why you typically just when trying to predict the full market, you're mostly looking at the Bitcoin charts.
Correct. Yeah, that's usually
Because money could flow into ETH, and that could kind of make you feel like we're making a new all-time high, but we really aren't.
Yep, everything in conjunction with this, like it's the Bitcoin chart, it's the Bitcoin dominance, it's also the ETH to BTC charts. You can basically make it as to your determination of whether it's going to be bullish or bearish. That's why we watch this every single day to see where things are, and we make our best decisions based on that.
Well, hopefully, I'll get some more updates. But let's get into some other topics on TA that I find interesting. Like, I mean, we kind of covered what you saw in May. We covered what you're seeing right now in the market. This is all super useful information. We talked about some of these indicators that you like to look at, the way that you draw vertical and horizontal trend lines. I mean, this is all really, really useful stuff. But let's bring it down closer to like a human level. Like, something I find interesting is how confident you are in your TA. So like, would you buy any token given that the TA is very strong?
So you're asking me if I want to buy Doge or Shiba Inu, right?
There's probably worse tokens out there than just Doge and Shiba, right? So
yeah, I mean, I take a look at those, but I mean, I'm not sure if they're on my list right now because I do have a watch list, and I don't like those coins necessarily to trade. But if I do see a really strong conviction to buy those, then I will. It's just a flip. If I'm bored, I'm day trading. Yeah, but I'm not sitting there for the fundamentals because I think that Dogecoin is better than the US dollar, which it could be, right? It's debatable.
So what's the crappiest token you've bought purely on TA and not on fundamentals?
I wouldn't say not on. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I bought anything that I would regret because it's based on my my TA. I mean, I have lost. Obviously, there's no perfect trader out there. But I did make mistakes when I was early. When I was really learning about how to use TA and kind of use this to my advantage, I basically was the biggest misconception is that, hey, you really want to take a look at and stare at the 5-minute and 15-minute charts. Like it infuriates me when I'm on YouTube and I see these folks on the 1-minute and 3-minute chart, 5-minute chart. Like, what's your point? Like, you're literally just there's no.
You're looking at noise.
You're gambling at that point in time. This is calculated. This is at a higher time frame. You're looking at big momentum shifts. Right, it goes from bearish to bullish. Not in seconds, but you can see the macro trends when it comes to that. So that's one of the things I've learned. I don't want to look at anything below the 1-hour chart. I think the 1 hour is good to just monitor, in my opinion. But in terms of making a decision, the 4-hour, the daily, the weekly needs to say the same exact thing.
That's a nice overlap because you're not buying fundamentally crappy tokens that maybe you otherwise wouldn't buy because you're not looking at those tiny time frames, right? And then people who are sitting there and they want to get rich quick, make $1 million this week off of their $10,000 investment. That's what they're doing, and that's why they're buying things like Doge or Shiba or all the million other meme coins or just scam coins. And so that makes sense. Like if you're probably looking at like a minute time frame here, maybe you can hit big, but you can also lose big, and you can also find yourself 6 months down the line. You're not even outperforming Bitcoin here, right? Mm-hmm. So that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, you have to make sure that you have at least, 3 to 5. That's probably my general rule that I've made in trading, is that I need to have 3 to 5 different oscillators, indicators telling me that this is a solid buy because all of them are a green check mark to me. Timelines is one of them, right? You're looking at the stock RSI. This is what I use often as well, and then I'm using the VMC cipher. This is a cheap version of the market cipher indicators out there. But yeah, I mean, when I was looking at Solana initially, right? This is one of the calls that I made earlier this year when basically we had a little mini altcoin season. So yeah. I was looking at this little this chart here for Solana. Obviously, it's a nice ascending triangle here. And, I was looking at also the daily and the weekly. to see if it was talking to me. So really what I was seeing here, as soon as it crossed right here, this was continuously making a higher low right here, here, and here. Bullish, right? And then you want to make sure that it breaks this trend line. This is a strong trend line. It touches so many times, right? The more times it touches, this is a solid trend line. This is another trend line at the bottom. This is the support line. So what I was seeing here was that this is potentially huge. And fundamentally, I was reading into. I'm like, what is Solana? Looking into this,
Yeah.
and obviously everyone knows what Solana is now, but yeah, I mean, I was looking at the stock RSI right here. It was curling back up, and right here, this little green. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it was it printed a buy for me. I'm in the wrong. It printed a buy right here for me, and that was basically conviction there for me. I mean, I was really liking the fact that this was creating higher lows, and this was a strong, and I had nowhere else to move. It was literally right here. There was no more space left. A lot of folks were just sitting here. Either it breaks to the downside or breaks to the upside. And looking at this, literally there was not that much going on in terms of like the VWAP, but the money flow is coming back in again. I mean,
so would you say it makes sense for it to wait until it breaks the ceiling, or did you buy it before it broke because you were feeling confident that it will?
I bought it before it broke, and then obviously because it was making higher lows, and that was easy enough for me. Once it dropped right here, and I'm like, okay, this is the area. It bounced off really quickly here. This right here, the daily, it was showing that this was kind of overbought. See this? And it can stay overbought for a long time. But so right here on the weekly, it was still down here at oversold. So higher time frame always wins here. So you base it off of this. This was curling back up. If you were a really risky trader, you would have purchased it on this way up right here, which would have yielded you some nice gains with Solana. So this is one of the best calls I've had, because it literally just shot to the moon. It went to,
right. Yeah.
It's pretty high right now. So yeah, very bullish on it fundamentally, technically.
Yeah, that was one of those coins that I've been watching for a really long time, and I kind of saw it go up to 40 in May, right, or around May, and I was like, oh man, I kind of missed the boat. And then the bear market came, it fell way down, but I wasn't really buying Solana because there's so many other things that I really wanted to buy. But then once we kind of hit that 40, like started hitting those highs again, and you told me you see a really, really strong buy signal for Solana. I was like, yep, I'm in. I've been hearing about this for a long time. I read a lot about Solana. I like it. You showed me that, I think you showed me Radium, right? Oh, this is a really neat exchange. This works really well. Like this is going to be huge. The TA expert tells me it's going to be huge. And that was a great buy.
I was playing around in that ecosystem, and it was really strong. It was really fun. Radium was very clean. And just kind of take a look at this really quick. This is Solana. This is on the daily. It's creating this this big ass momentum wave, and it's creating a smaller one. So obviously that's for me this is gonna break out soon, and this coincides with the ETH BTC, because obviously this is basically a trigger for all the alts, and so Solana is a good buy right now, in my opinion, because it's a lot of look at these long wicks right here, a lot of purchases right here. The market is saying that it should not go down below this area, which is around 180, 170 area, and it looks like it's curling back up. See this?
Right. So, yeah. So
what I'm seeing
a lot of good signals in the market, huh? It's a good timing for this conversation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But what are some resources where you learned about how to do this?
There's everything. I mean, everything on YouTube. I basically researched everything on YouTube. Learning TA.
Who are some good YouTubers you like? So I can include the links.
Let's see. Crypto Crew University's one. I learned from because he's also fundamentals. This is Datadash. He's awesome.
Datadash?
Yeah, Datadash. He's really well known. He's really strong fundamentally.
CryptoBurb?
No, I don't know who that is. He's not up there for me. So, Banter, He's really good. He also has a technical expert on that, Sheldon, the sniper. He's also on Twitter. He's really, really solid. But yeah, those are really, really good guys that you guys can follow in the market. You can also follow Crypto Wendy, Crypto Jeb, JEB. He's really solid. Speaks really fast. But yeah, you can learn a great deal from these guys.
What else do we want to talk about? Is there anything specific you want to talk about?
No, I mean, when it comes to trading and just looking at TA, it's really not just saying, hey, we can see the future. Yes, sometimes I feel invincible, but you can also get really hurt if you're looking at the smaller time frames. So I would like to preface that there's don't be too confident. Obviously, you want to be safe, so you want to lose the lowest amount. You're not going to make the perfect trades out there. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. I would read up. I would practice as much as possible. Sometimes I would just, when I was starting off with TA, I would hypothetically write down on a Post-it note and saying, hey, I would actually buy this and this and this at these prices. And I would hypothetically throw in $100 just on a Post-it note and come back to it in a week or two. See if your trade was right. You know what I mean? Your conviction. So I would practice off of that. Just do paper trading in your mind and just kind of just do that and just to see where the market goes. And just see if it works, right? So I would say just keep practicing out there, and do not focus on the shorter time frames. That's a big red alert for me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so, all right, so let's get into some fun stuff too. Like, so what is your worst trade? What is the trade that you regret the most?
Trade I regret the most.
Like, it could be a sell, it could be a buy, it could be just like the timing.
Once upon a time, goes back when I didn't know what crypto and what it was, and really know what it was and understand it. I actually mined and purchased at the same time. I purchased Doge. We were talking about Doge earlier, but I held Doge for a long time, and I really forgot about it. But
and when was this?
This was 2014. Was when I purchased it from eBay.
Holy crap. Our man's bought Doge on eBay in 2014. I had no idea you did that. So
I did. And it was like literally just $100 worth. And, accidentally the guy sent me double what I was buying it for. So then,
sure, being Doge, why not?
Yeah, being the nice guy that I am, I gave back the accidental, because he sent me additional Doge. So
did you keep it until now, or when did you sell it?
I sold it early. I sold it and this is one of my regrets. I sold it really early. So I basically made like 5x my money. So I threw in 100 and took out like $600 or like $550-ish. And I was happy. And I took it and ran, right?
Happy as a clam.
But then all of a sudden, years later, it's exploded, and I never thought it would be above a penny, but now it's sitting at like what, 20s? The all-time high was like 50 cents, 60 cents or something like that. It almost hit $1. So
how much would have that $100 be worth now?
Probably like 30,000, I'm thinking.
Right. So a decent Toyota.
Yes. Or a CRV.
Or a CRV. And so another fun question for you is, what is your favorite like TA analogy or TA joke? I know a lot of people like to say, the tea leaves, like you guys are just staring at tea leaves and trying to predict the future. Or what was the other one that I heard was dad horoscopes, Do you have a favorite joke?
I don't know if I have a favorite joke. It was more so people like you laughing at me.
Yeah, just laughing at you for months and then crying, right? And while you're laughing.
I mean, you learned your lesson, you get it, and now you are, you're gonna drink the Kool-Aid from me. So
yeah, I definitely drink the Kool-Aid a little. I definitely do look at charts now before I make a trade. I don't get into the level of technical analysis that you do, but I definitely look at, zoom out for 3 months, like what were the highs, what were the lows, what is the volume like, right? Like, is this a good time to buy? And like, I'm probably not quantifying things enough, and I probably should be. So this was really, really helpful, and this probably will guide me along to like really quantify things and not just look at the volume and the highs and lows and kind of feel like a certain way, right? You know, having something that actually like a codified way to interpret this data, I think will be very helpful and will probably prevent all of us from making mistakes. What's your biggest, what is the token that you're most excited about right now?
Luna. So
Luna. It has been Luna, and it's gonna be Luna.
It's always going to be Luna. Luna has a. This is basically a fundamental play for me. It was technically speaking to me as well when I purchased it at 17 area here. But yeah, I mean, you can see the price action right here. It's looking great. I am seeing 3-digit,
And it's still a good buy, right?
Yeah, I'm seeing a 3-digit Luna, especially with the ETH BTC chart. Yeah, that's something that's it's on its way.
We heard it here, folks. Buy Ether, buy Luna. Obviously, not financial advice. Never financial advice. But this is cool. I learned a lot.
Great.
These lines are making more sense to me now, and I gotta start doing this more before I make some of these buys that I make.
Yeah, we trust the charts. If you're looking at the sidelines with Luna, potentially see something right here. I mean, if it's going back down, this is the trend line. You have to assume that it's going to follow this trend until it doesn't. So, one of those things where it's like this.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good buyer right here. I mean, this potentially, right? If it comes back down here, the 66 area to the 69 area, that's the area right here where people like me, I can purchase more Luna, potentially coming back up. 3-digit Luna, it's coming.
3-digit Luna. All right. With that, I'm gonna let you go.
Great.
Let's do this again in a week or two, and I think it would be really dope to kind of revisit what we talked about today. Yep. And I'm going to learn a lot. So I'm going to come with some better questions for you.
But one thing I wanted to go, I have another minute here, but one thing we want to take a look at here is just make sure we keep an eye on this. If this trend breaks, and that's basically a kind of like a red signal for us to sell and get out. So this is one of the things I'm taking a look at. So hopefully when we meet again sometime in the future, we can basically see our time frame right here.
So to break it down into the simplest terms, if we hit something below 47, if I hang up this call in the next 2 hours, Bitcoin drops below 47, I should be rotating into stables.
Correct.
Cool.
All right.
I'm gonna set a reminder for myself. All right, let's catch up again in a couple weeks. I'm gonna have some better questions for you. I'm gonna dig deeper.
Great, sounds good. I'll talk to you soon. Thank
you, Hardabs. Bye.
Yep. Bye.